Hello, this is my little video introduction to my book called Holistic Approaches to Mental Health. Now, the purpose of this book is to give the person on the street information about a large number of things, both inside and outside the medical realm, so that they can make much more informed decisions about their health care. Now, this book will be particularly interesting to people who wish to either take their own mental health care in their own hands and out of the purview of doctors, or for some reason are self-funding their care, such as might exist in the United States. So this book contains a large amount of material about a large number of subjects, and all of them are to do with the mental health realm and with therapy and things like that. Now, I have endeavored to write all these chapters in a layperson's language, in the format of tell me in 5 minutes what this is about. So somebody looking at the book will find an encyclopedia of information about a variety of things. And I have included things that are taboo subjects within medicine, such as past life regression therapy, for example, and also focus on therapies which are essentially spiritual, such as transpersonal psychotherapy and Buddhist psychotherapy. Now, one of the things I've done in this book is to reclassify the notion of mental distress. So essentially, the way I look at mental distress is from the point of view of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs model. Now, just to say a little bit about this, the Maslow model has been a gold standard for at least for well over about 60 years, and nobody has come across anything that has supplanted it. What Maslow basically said, that human beings first of all deal with their most immediate needs, such as food, shelter, and so forth. And when those are satisfied, they then go on to security and stuff like this. The next tier on the thing is the need to love and be loved. And after that, people go on to higher realms of finding aim and purpose in their life and meaning and stuff like this. So people are always attempting to clamber up the Maslow's pyramid until they reach their personal apex. So according to the Maslow model, you get mental distress from different levels of this model. Let me give you a simple example. Like if a person comes into a doctor's office, say, "Doc, I'm really depressed. I've lost my job. I can't keep up with my mortgage. I feel my house is about to be repossessed. I am getting divorced. My children are all against me. And on top of that, I have received notification that I have a serious illness." Now, this is a obvious type of mental distress that anybody can relate to, and this is exactly the kind of distress that doctors are trained to deal with. Um, at the other end of the scale, you get types of mental distress as follows. For example, imagine a person coming into a doctor's office saying, "Doc, I'm really depressed. I'm really the thing is, I have a really good job, I'm very successful, I have lots of money, I have a lovely family, lovely kids, everything is hunky-dory in that department, but I feel lost, I feel empty, I don't know what my life is about, and I'm really distressed about it to the point that I can't sleep at night." Now, this is obviously a different kind of distress, and in this case, the doctor would say, "Well, this kind of thing is above my pay grade, and perhaps you need to see a spiritual counselor or something like that. But I can't help you." So, depending on the type of mental distress that a person is going through, the type of therapist or the type of therapy that they might need might be different. So this is a point in the book of the reclassification of mental distress. The next point I make in my book is a correction of the public perception of what doctors do and don't do, and what they know and do not know. Now, because doctors are generally the go-to people when when people are in a state of mental distress, depressed, stressed, anxious, and so forth, people obviously assume that they're experts on mental health, or certainly keeping good mental health. The truth is that they are not. The medical syllabus contains nothing about keeping good mental health, and keeping good mental health is not part of any kind of medical syllabus. Doctors are very specifically trained to diagnose and treat and manage mental health conditions that come within the purview of the normal of the health service. In other things, they are not experts, and they are not required. It's not in their job description to know anything at all. Now, in the United Kingdom, virtually all doctors, whether they be general practitioners or psychiatrists, are one way or another mostly employees of the National Health Service. And working as a team, they manage mental health in agreed ways between themselves. So some conditions are managed in primary care, and others are managed in hospital care, and stuff like that. And certainly in the United Kingdom, this is how it works. And so it's quite the importance of this is that there is many kinds of mental distress that doctors are not expert in dealing with at all. And also, doctors can't help, do not really know that much about ordinary everyday distress. I mean, they are no more clued up than any other person on the matter. And I've described, and I go through this in my book. So knowing what a doctor's knowledge and skills are and what they are not is actually quite important. So so when people make healthcare options, they know what and what can't be provided. Now, as I've said, this book is about people being able to make very informed decisions about mental health options. And for this reason, in order to make informed decisions, you need to have a good enough knowledge base. So my book provides a wide range of bits of information on relevant to mental health that I have categorized in certain ways and put in certain orders which I think people will find easy to understand. And I make no apology for the fact that 1/3 of my book is probably directly or indirectly related to the subject of spirituality, because in my view, whether I think all human beings are essentially spiritual, even if on the outside, irrespective of whether or not they have a religion on the outside, or equally are avowed atheists. It applies to everybody equally. So this book looks at spirituality in that context, and things that are actually universal. And I do hope that this book will contribute to the public debate on mental health, and I hope it will bring an interesting and new dimension to it. Now, I haven't written any of this in the book, but when I was preparing for this little video talk, it occurred to me to express some ideas about the funding of mental health. Now, I've stated very clearly in my book that medicine is actually a business; it is not a charity. And if you look at healthcare in countries of the developed world, they comprise of anything between 7 and 10% of GDP on average. This is a huge, huge amount. In America alone, the annual health bill is in the trillions of dollars. And a chunk of this is allocated to mental health issues. So we all know the economic effects of having poor mental health. I mean, people who will perform less well, they will be less productive, and they will have more days of work. And that has an impact on financial matters, on financial systems. Now, at the present time, in my opinion, mental health is looked upon as very much of a medical matter, and I think it should be much more of a social matter. Now, in this country, i.e. the UK, there's a big lobby of people that suggest that mental health should be put on par with physical health in terms of funding. I can't say about this, but I certainly disagree that they should be on par. They're very different things. I can't, in all honesty, equate a depressed person with a broken leg. So these are two different things. However, if you look at the range of mental health and the issues in the population, a certain percentage are clearly 100% medical or should be only treated and managed by doctors. For example, serious mental health disorders such as schizophrenia. However, there are vast swathes of the population that have long-term depression issues, anxiety issues, and stress issues that are on long-term prescription medications, such as Prozac and things of this sort. Now, I do feel that this is a segment that will greatly benefit from social prescribing. Now, it is at the present time, there's extremely good evidence that things like diet, exercise, meditation type practices, and very importantly, tackling social isolation and loneliness has a huge impact on mental health. For instance, it is now thought that the effect of loneliness and social isolation has the health harms of having something like 15 cigarettes a day. It's that bad. So at the present time, mental health boards that look at funding on a big scale are often stuffed full of psychiatrists and medics. And consequently, many of the solutions that come up are to look at a thing medically. Now, what I want to propose here is for a thought experiment to be done. Imagine that you had a mental health board where only 1/3 of the places were allocated to doctors and medics, and a full third of places were allocated to people like social workers and non-medical people but with an expertise in mental health and well-being. And the other third were people like politicians, administrators, and health economists, people of that type. If you had such a kind of board, you'd come up with very different solutions. For example, there'd be a big focus on shifting funds from outside the hospital sector to facilities in the community where non-prescription ways of dealing with mental health could be experimented with. And I feel personally very sure that a great number of people that are left to rot on Prozac for long periods of time could, if given the right support and help, come off these medications in perhaps a year or two at the most. And that's just a thought. And thank you for listening.